Paul Stern now joins me live here in the studio of the Stern Group. Thank you very much for joining us. And so, while the numbers are very impressive, 3.9 trillion, 3.8 trillion, who's counting all the zeros here? They're both very big, obviously, and China is now officially overtaking the United States. Explain for our viewers, what does it mean? Why is this significant?
Well, with bigness comes power. With power comes influence. With influence comes responsibility. So China basically, with the United States, together has to work to make sure that this situation works not only for China, not only for the U.S., but for the world. So China is truly a much bigger player when it comes to shaping, potentially a bigger player if they're going to take a leadership position, shaping the rules of the road, shaping those rules at the World Trade Organization, in the IMF, at the World Bank, etc.
When we talk about big in the business community, when you're big, you get to have pricing power. And I'm trying to ask the question is, as a trading partner, when you're the biggest, does that give you more influence in trade deals? Does it give you more influence in pricing power? Does it give you more influence when you're dealing business to business deals or business to government type of deals?
It does give you more influence. However, what you do with that influence long term is incredibly important. So if China, in order to maintain stability, wants to continue on its path towards increasing consumer consumption, for example, it has to make sure that it's a win-win situation, because being the biggest trader means it's biggest importer and exporter. So that means it's depending on imports for its raw materials, food, etc. So it has to think about its trading partner and whether it's good for them.
You've said this a couple times in the last couple of answers here, and you've mentioned responsibility,
yes.
You've mentioned long term.
Right.
What are you trying to say that the Chinese, I guess in particular, need to do now that they are the biggest? And I guess in effect they could do it if they're the second biggest, but either way, what do you want to see them do?
And I do think that China's done very well as a member of the World Trade Organization, but I think it could really step up even more. I think that we've got issues that we need to resolve worldwide when it comes to intellectual property right protection, corruption issues, when it comes to sanctity of contracts, the foreign investors' rights, and those are not codified.
There's a lot of topics, and some of them are controversial, let's be honest.
They are all controversial, they're not codified, but it is good for the trading system when and if they are. And China, because it has such a huge stake now as the biggest importer and exporter in that sense, biggest trading partner combined, needs to use its influence in order to get those rules written.
You mentioned about domestic consumption.
Yes.
We all know China's trying to diversify its reliance, less on exports, more on domestic consumption. Do these figures that you've been looking at, in terms of imports and exports, does it support that argument that it's working what the government is doing to diversify its economy?
Oh, I think so. I'm not satisfied, and I have a feeling what's more important is not what I think, but what the Chinese people think. So from a Chinese government leadership position, I think that there is a growing expectation for even more consumer satisfaction and a reduction of inequities amongst the population.
I wish we had more time to talk about some of those more controversial issues, but we're certainly going to have you back again. Paul, thank you very much.